welcome to Swedish Plant Guys. Today I'm going to show you how to propagate the Monstera Deliciosa by making a cutting from that plant. But if you haven't subscribed yet, please do, and like and share this video. And don't forget to hit that bell as well, so you get a notification every time we put up something new. Now, we have made a video called All You Need to Know About Monstera Deliciosa. And in that video, we tell you how to take care of this plant to make it thrive, to make it grow, to be big and lush, and to get big leaves with nice fenestrations on them. Now, fenestrations are these cuts in the leaves, and that is why we usually have this plant, because we want that fenestrations in the leaves. But when this plant starts to grow, it can grow quite fast, and it can grow fiercely. So if you don't have the room for it, you will have to start to make cuts in this plant to keep it a little bit smaller. And what you can do then is, it's very, very easy to propagate this plant, to get a new plant from it. And that is what I'm going to show you now. Now, first of all, what you need for this is you have to have a shearer, a scissor, or a knife, and make sure that whichever you use is cleaned, and so that you won't have any bacteria or something on this that you will transfer to the cutting, because then you can get problems with fungus or bacteria, and that will make it harder to make a cutting out of this. So make sure that it's clean before you use it. And what you also need is something to put that cutting in. Now I have quite a large vase here that I'm going to use. And usually this is what you need for when you have a bigger Monstera here. You need a bigger vase to be able to have these big leaves in this container. But that is all depending on how large the cutting you make will be. So, starting off, when you make a cutting out of this, you need to look for a couple of things. Now, first of all, it is important to look that you have at least one node in the bottom of this cutting. Now, what is a node? Well, a node is right here. It is where the new leaves come out of. The stem continues, and then you have a new leaf. And this portion here is actually a node. Now, at least one node needs to be underwater when we've made this cut. So you have to look that you have somewhere that you still have a leaf left, but you have one node that is going to go down into the water. Now, to be able to have a higher success rate here, it is good if you also have, like I have here, you have an air root that is growing out of this node. Now, you don't have to have an air root here. The most important thing is that you have a node like this. But if you have a small air root, that is just positive. Because this air root, when we put this in water, is going to transform into a water root. And there are going to come out small roots from the air root. So you give it an extra nudge, and you will have a higher success rate. But you don't need it. You can, if you have a node without an air root, it's not a problem. So I'm going to make a cut here now. I'm going to use this part here to make a cutting. And when I make this cut, as I said before, you need to have the node with you in the cutting, but also keep a little portion of the stem. So make sure that you don't make that cut too close to the node here. But you at least move down, let's see, we have about 2 inches here, so at least move down 1 inch so that you have a piece of stem with you in your cutting. Now I'll make that cut now. So we make the cut here, just in the middle between these two leaves. So we have a little bit of a stem with us. There. Now we have the cutting. And this is now ready to help us create a new plant. As I said before, we have about 1 inch of stem here. We have the most important thing, and that is the node. We have an extra plus, which is the air root here that is going to help us with this cutting. And then you have to, no, you don't have to, but we have 2 pairs of leaves here, and we also have a new leaf that is coming out here. You could remove all the leaves and just use this node here and this part of the stem. That is what I show you in the All You Need to Know video. However, if you want to be able to have as high of a success rate as possible, leave at least 1 leaf here that is connected to this stem and this node. So now I will add some water to our vase here. You do not have to, in some cases you can prefer leaving this cutting for a couple of hours so that this cut here actually starts to callus over or dry out a little bit before you put it in water. However, we've found that you have a higher success rate if you make the cut and then put it in water directly. It also works by laying it a couple of hours and letting it callus over, but you have a higher success rate if you make the cut and then put it straight into water. So that is what we're going to do right now. The most important thing when you add this water is that this, at least this node, is underwater, because it is from this node and from this air layer that we're going to get the roots from. So this needs to be underwater at all times. So when you add this, make sure to look and see that it is underwater like this. Now I could, because this leaf here actually comes from this node, so I could remove this leaf. It's not a certainty that this leaf is going to survive. However, you can leave it as well, because one of the positive things of making a cutting from this plant is actually the big leaves, because you can place this somewhere in your kitchen or in your home and have it as a cut flower now. It actually looks quite well. You could just have it standing around somewhere and not hide it somewhere because of these nice leaves. So I would leave these 2 leaves, both of them. And the next thing you have to do now is that you have to exchange this water at least once a week. It works it's not a problem if you should forget about it and you don't exchange this water for maybe 2 weeks or something. It's not a problem, but the more you exchange the water, the higher your success rate will be. And you can also look at the water. As soon as the water starts to turn a little bit, it gets another color to it. It's starting to get a little bit sour. Then it's time to change the water. But you can change it every day if you want to. It only increases your chances of getting roots from this. Now, what will happen is that once the roots are starting to form, and in this case we have the air root in here. Now, from that point is where our first roots are going to start to be visible. It's from that air root. And then they will also come out from the node that we talked about earlier. And when it's time to repot this plant is when the roots have become at least 2 inches, so 5 centimeters at least. You can even let them go up to 4 inches before you repot this plant, before you put it into soil. So let the roots come out thoroughly before you make the transition from water to soil. Now when you repot this and when you put this into soil, you need to have a soil that has good aeration to it. So maybe a soil mix that you could add some perlite or some pumice to, something that aerates that soil, but it needs to be a little bit moist all the time, at least for the first 4 to 8 weeks. Because the roots here are going to make the transition from being water roots to being soil roots. And that needs to have that bit of a moisture all the time. So make sure that it doesn't dry out too much. Just feel with your finger to see that it's a little bit moist. But it can't be too wet either, because if it gets too wet, then the roots will start to rot. So just keep them a little bit moist. And the best thing to do that is to plant this in something, a plastic pot or something with holes in the bottom. So when you water it, make sure that all the excess water goes out of the pot and you can take that away, so that the soil is moist, but it's not standing in water. If you do all of these things, you will have a very easy new propagated Monstera. And as I said before, don't be afraid if some of these leaves, if one or two of these leaves die, because as long as you get roots down here, the plant will survive, and you will start to get new shoots, new buds and new shoots from this node cutting. And also, please let us know if you tried this, if you have success with this. Let us know in the commentary section. And if you have any other questions, please let us know. We try and answer all of your questions in Q&A videos, so check them out as well. And if you haven't seen our video on all you need to know about the Monstera Deliciosa, go check that out. So when your new Monstera gets planted, you know exactly how to take care of it and how to make it thrive. Until next time, hej då!